All right. So I am Sapphire Ambassador Randy Underwood, and I'm here with a very special guest, Katie Ciccarelli. I said that correct, right? Okay. So Katie and I actually met on a plane a couple weeks ago on our way back from Hawaii from our trip, and it's just it was just really funny. Obviously, I was extremely tired. I thought as soon as I got on the plane, I was going to pass out. And turns out I'm next to this beautiful girl who I'm like, I recognize her somehow. And we end up talking for about 5 hours of the 6 hour plane ride. I'm so glad that she finally was like, hey, I need to close my eyes for a bit. I was like, great, we both need some sleep. But anyway, I really enjoyed getting to know her and just talking to her about how, her journey started with Plexus and just talking about how she even, not just her journey with her health, but also her journey with this business. So Katie lives out in Oregon. She has her husband's Valentino. She's got 3 adorable little kiddos, and they love to travel. Thanks to Plexus and ministry work, they actually have been to 49 different states, which is super awesome. And I believe, from what I remember from memory, you guys met through ministry, right? Yes. Okay. And then the one thing I didn't ask, I did ask her how long it took her to get to Sapphire, and she said it took her 3 years, which is super awesome. But I forgot to ask you how long it took you to get to Emerald.
It took me, so 3 months before I went Sapphire, I went Emerald.
Okay.
So
Super
I
fast.
added 3 years to the month I went Emerald.
Okay, that is super cool. So she has an awesome growing business. She's been with Plexus for 5 years now. She started for a reason that many of us start. She had health issues going on, and the products changed her life. And I believe she just caught the vision really quickly. And so anyway, when we were on the plane, though, I got really interested because she told me that 85% of her business has been built from strangers on Instagram. And so to me, I was like, that is incredible, because I've obviously, I just feel like I haven't exactly figured that out. When I learned to start sharing back in 2015, I built my business solely on Facebook. And so, and a lot of my team has as well. And so that's how we've learned to build. And so I'm truly interested in the things that you've done or are doing in order to do such a great job of building your business. So I'm going to actually turn this over to Katie. She's going to talk to us a little bit, give us some awesome ideas on what she does on Instagram, and maybe and share a little bit of her story and how she got started with Plexus. So go ahead and take it.
Thank you so much for having me, Randy. I'm so excited to just be on here tonight and see you again. Yes, we were fast friends for the 5 hours that we were together coming home from Hawaii. So anyways, I'm just going to cut right into my story, and then I'm going to share some tips of mine that have helped me in my Instagram learning journey. And then we're going to open it up at the end for a Q&A, and we'll go from there. So feel free to jot some things down. I do have a kind of a funny acronym for the things I'm going to talk about. So if you have some notes, feel free to write it down. If not, I can send all of my notes over to Randy afterwards, so you don't have to stress about writing it down either. I also have a YouTube training that I did on this. It is quite old, but it's pretty relevant still. And there's a few graphics on there that will help you with maybe some things that I'm going to share that maybe you're not sure what that is. So I'll send the link to Randy as well when we're done, and she can send you the video. It's not fancy by any means, and I really need to update it, but it is helpful still for someone who's just learning Instagram. So anyways, 5 years ago, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. I had 3 children, 2 and under. My youngest was 5 months old, and I literally woke up one day, my left ankle was swollen and throbbing. And I thought maybe I had been bitten by a spider. I really didn't know what was going on. We lived in the South, and it was warm, and I just didn't know what happened. So kind of watched it for a day, didn't get any better. So the next day we went to the ER, and they gave me some medication and some steroids just to take care of the inflammation. And they thought maybe, if it was a bite, that the antibiotics would help it. So I did feel better in like a week. My steroids ran out, and then I realized I was not better, that the steroids were just band-aiding the problem. And I came home from feeling, so I started feeling worse again after my taper ran out. And this time both ankles were swollen. My neck was in pain. My thumb joints were hurting. And I was just starting to feel like achy all over my whole body, which is pretty terrifying. So back to the hospital I went to a different like clinic this time just to see if I could see someone new. He said that I had plantar fasciitis issues, and he diagnosed me to go get some foot soles, like insoles for my shoes. Like that's what I was given. So clearly that was not what I was needing at the time. I needed to find something going on inside my body, not just fixing the outside of my body. So I went over the border to Florida from where we were living and found a new hospital there and started working with a doctor, and she recommended me over to a specialist. And we're talking, this is like months and months into the process. So I went to multiple hospitals in Alabama, different clinics, and just kept getting like rabbit trails. So, and was on medicine over and over and over. So my gut was destroyed. I had had 3 C-sections in 2 years. So that was already, a big hot mess inside because I had been on all the medications for those C-sections, UTIs, chronic, sinus infections. Like I just didn't have a very good immune system, obviously, but I didn't know any of that. Okay. 5 years ago, totally clueless. So long story short, my friend finally, and I've been throwing like posts up on Facebook, or my husband had, saying, pray for Kate. We don't know what's going on. We're trying this, we're trying that. I did intravenous vitamin C therapies, trying to try natural things. None of that helped. So finally, my friend Joanna, who is now a diamond ambassador with Plexus, at the time, I think she was a gold or senior gold, I can't remember, but she had been sharing for a while. We were childhood friends. We weren't super close, but she had been sharing about this pink drink, but we were in ministry full time. We lived paycheck to paycheck, and I couldn't afford the $100 pink drink. Like that was not on my radar. But at this point, after, asking prayer for so long on social media, we had put it out there that I was officially diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. They put me on a medication. I was going to have to stop breastfeeding my daughter. And also I was going to be on the medication the rest of my life. And so at that point, we kind of reached a decision. Do I go on this medicine and just Band-Aid it, or do we try to find something natural that maybe would help? So that's when I did the intravenous therapies, and it didn't help me at all. So Joanna had reached out to me before, and I had told her no. And my mom had moved in with us during this whole process because I couldn't even walk at this point, and having 3 children, all in diapers, 2 and under. And my husband was off at work. I couldn't handle life at all. So anyways, my mom's like, she's a stalker on my Facebook. She doesn't have her own, so she uses mine. And she's like, Joanna's like always talking about that gut health stuff. She's like, you should give it a try. I think maybe it would help you. She says it helps with autoimmune stuff, so maybe it will help you. And so a church that we go and preach at in ministry actually sent us a check for $500 and said, try something different, try something natural. So we took that as a sign from the Lord to give the products a try, and we ordered the triplex combo, and we ordered 3 bottles of Ease and the Ease cream. And that was what I started with the products. I didn't have a lot of faith that they were going to do anything, but I knew that we'd ordered them. They were a lot of money. I was going to give it my best shot. So I started with a loading dose of Ease 4 capsules before every meal. So before eating, morning, noon, and night. I did an Ease cream multiple times a day because my ankles and my wrists and everything were just really, really achy and inflamed and very swollen. And then I would take my triplex very, very faithfully. So about 8 weeks into the products, I sent Joanna a before and after of my legs, which I hadn't seen my legs look that normal for like 5 months at this point. And I was just like, oh my goodness, these products are doing something, because look at my legs and I'm off all my medicine. And she's like, you have to go share that. And I was like, why? And she's like, because your friends have been praying for you and they don't even have a clue, because I had not told anyone that I was using anything. So I was like, okay, I mean, I don't really want to be like weird or salesy, but I'll post the picture and just tell people thanks. So I posted the before and after, and I said, thank you for praying for me. And I had 3 ladies reach out like that night, and they're like, hey, I have this, can it help me? And I was like, I don't have a clue. Just talk to my friend. And so anyway, so my mom ended up ordering, and 2 other ladies that I wasn't even close with that had issues ordered, and I went silver like lickety split. Well, I didn't want to be that girl. So fast forward 10 months, I'm still sitting at silver because I just didn't want to be that person, like just talking about a product all the time. And finally, so that was April, Christmas rolled around, and I told my husband, I just wish we had a little bit extra. I wish I could help some way from home. Like I did piano lessons, but when we traveled, I couldn't do my piano lessons. And then I would, I had a little bakery business thing from home. Like I tried to make some money, but it really wasn't going very far. And when we traveled, I couldn't do any of it. So anyway, at Christmas time, he was like, you know what? You have my full permission to do whatever you want to in this business. I support you completely. And you're more worried about what people think of you. And you know what? Those people that you're worried about, don't send us a paycheck every month to help us pay our bills. He's like, you are worried about what they think and they're holding you back. He's like, just see what'll happen if you actually go for it. So with that permission, January I went gold. 4 months later, I went senior gold and earned silver stars, and I earned the cruise and the shopping spree that year. And then 4 months later, I went ruby, and about 4 months later, I went senior ruby. I went 1 year at senior ruby, and I went emerald. So that's kind of like, so the first year was just kind of a fluff, scared, fearful year with a bad mindset. And then the second and third years were where the magic happened for me. And anyway, so that's my journey sapphire. So 3 months later, then I went sapphire. And of course, in building and going from emerald to sapphire in 3 months, there's a lot of like retention and growth with new people, so I'm still sitting at sapphire, but we're working towards diamond every day. So that's my journey in my business and why I started with the products. And I'm just so thankful that I finally said yes to my friend. And like each of you who are on this call, you said yes to your friend, and we all know the blessings of this business. And I started out with Facebook. I only had 100 friends on Instagram. It was closed. And I wanted it to be my little piece of social media where people I only knew were on there. And like, I didn't want more than 100 people because it was just too much. And I'm a very people person, but I just wanted my little space where I posted my kids and my little random stuff. So that's where I was not an Instagram guru. I still am not like a guru. I do not have a massive account, but Instagram is where I love to be now. And that is where I have learned to find people and develop relationships and cultivate those into leaders on my team. And until like Plexus events opened back up after 2020, I hadn't even met any of my leaders that were from Instagram. So it is possible to build a relationship, start a leader that you've never even met, grow a beautiful relationship with them, and have runners on your team that you've never even met in person. It is possible. So let's talk about Instagram and some things that you can do to make your Instagram more effective for you. First of all, you need to become a business page. If you have a closed account, you're not going to have any use of hashtags. Your reels are not going to get seen by anybody. If you're making reels, you need to have a business page, but also for the insights. You can click insights and see when you post your posts, what type of like people are watching. Is it mostly, older people, younger people? It shows the age category. It also shows the gender. It also shows kind of the time of day that people are kind of checking it out. So it helps you know when to post your posts to get the most visibility. So that alone, becoming a business page, doesn't mean anything else. You don't have to sign up for anything. It literally just helps you see the inner workings of your Instagram. So I have a little Plexus acronym. So the word Plexus, first of all, P, photos. What should you post? Well, what we're looking at on your main screen is going to be your highlights of your life. It's not going to be like the grunge pictures or like advertising, like salesy pictures. It's just going to be like nicer photos. However, you do not have to get stuck in a niche of just having one thing you talk about all the time. And I know that kind of contradicts some teachings that we've heard before, but for me, I don't like to be niched. I'm not rebellious, but I don't like to be put in a bucket and just have one thing to talk about. And I don't feel like it's held back my business by not having just one thing that I'm talking about. I saw a reel one time, I can find the link and send it to Randy, but it just talks about if you want to grow a huge viral account, have a niche. If you want to grow an MLM business, have a personal relationship with your people and be a real person in your feed. Okay. So I've kind of taken that and ran with that. Maybe that doesn't work for everybody. But I found for me, it helps me develop more genuine relationships, just being myself and not trying to be one thing on there because I feel like I'm more than one dimension. So, and so are you. So the second thing is, L is like, share, save. So add value to people. Likes are kind of going out. People aren't liking things as much, but sharing and saving and liking still help. And people notice. If I'm following somebody, I want to notice my page. I go on their page and I like their last 9 pictures or posts. I go in their stories and I respond to something in their stories. I get myself into their DMs that way. And so adding value on their posts are going to make them run back to your page, check out who you are, like your stuff as well, and maybe develop a relationship that way. So make sure you're adding value by just going through every so often and just liking a bunch of things and commenting and just showing some love because everyone notices that because it's kind of getting a little bit more rare. Letter E is eliminate the salesy posts and graphics. I would take a minute to go through your feed. If you see a lot of like, buy, 1 pink drink and get 2 products free, like a picture, if you're doing that, That doesn't work for me so much. I feel like some women can get away with that, like especially older women, like it's fine. Like I have an older lady on my team, she can post that way and she gets people. But for me and my following, like it just looks like an ad and they just skip through it. They don't even look at it. So just take a minute to look over your feed and see how much you've put your face in there. If it's been a while, put your beautiful face in there, because that's what they're looking for, to be like, that's who you are behind the screen. It's your, they get to see you. And for a stranger having never met you, that's your like, hello, this is me. And it kind of takes their attention. So make sure every few posts is yourself looking at the camera and just letting them see who you are. So letter X is kind of like made up, but accept friends, requests, and message back. When someone friends you, get in their DMs right away, introduce yourself. That's your door in without you even having to try. So sometimes we get, friend requests, say you share a reel and a bunch of people start following you. It's easy just to be like, okay, whatever. No, jump in there. If they look like a normal person and not just a random, fake account, go in their DMs, thank them for following you, see what they're about, mention anything you have in common, and see if you can start up a fellowship that way with them. These I'm just briefing with because these are important parts of Instagram, but I'm going to get to the end and talk about my two favorite things. So hold tight with me. The letter U is to utilize reels. I know they're hard, but there's so many. You could literally just put a picture up and have a song and then just put a caption on it. You can do just yourself making your pink drink and make it into a reel and put a pretty picture, like a pretty song behind it. That is where things are right now. And even if you're not good at it, you don't have to be funny. You don't have to become someone to do your reels. You can just put a picture, a before and after, and then, have yourself just talking about it. This is my friend and this is what happened, or just post their picture and just put some script on there. So make sure you are utilizing those. Those will send free people like without you having to try to you from Instagram. So those are really important. And lastly, your stories. Stories are where I make my sales. I'm in my stories. I live in my stories. I show all the things in my stories from the time I get up in the morning, anything I'm doing throughout the day, homeschooling my kids, making my lunch, what I'm doing for dinner, where we're going today, our outfits for church. Like I throw everything in my reels or in my stories. And it makes that's where the relationship is. And people respond to you. You watch people's stories, you respond to them, and that builds that relationship because they feel like you're an actual person that they know. And that's why they're watching your stories. When I do my like life stories, I try to throw in something about plexus in the middle, do some polls, do some like swipe things, and then keep going. That way they have to look through. They never know when the plexus is coming, but if they want to keep seeing all the other fun stuff, they've got to look at it. And I've had, when I first started, someone's like, well, why don't you just separate your page from like your plexus stuff and your family? I'm like, hey, you don't want to look at my plexus stuff. You can't see my kids either. So there's that. Like, I'm just like, this is me. This is a part of me. And if you don't like all of what I'm sharing, I don't, that's fine. But to get one, you have to get the other. Like, that's just part of me. So anyway, I don't really care. I slip it in all the time. I'm making my pink drink. I'm jabbering away at the camera. Just doing it and living it and showing it is building that trust in you as well. So you don't even have to say, here, this is my pink drink and it does this. You can just be like making it up. What are you guys doing today? Like talk to the camera and just showing that you're using it throughout your life. Anyway, so that's my Plexus acronym. Hopefully those few tips help with just kind of like shoring up your Instagram, making sure you've got your biz account, you've got not too many graphics looking posts, and that you're in your stories and staying consistent in there, because that will give you the relationship you're looking for, which will eventually lead to the sale. But something that I feel like not a lot of people know are two specific ways to organize your Instagram. In Messenger, we have our Messenger app, and you can see, like, you can make threads and you can do stuff like that. But in Instagram, people are kind of get lost. Well, there's two things you can do to help find your prospects and to kind of sort people out. So the first thing is, if you go to your DMs, in the DM next to the person's name, there's a little flag and you can click the flag. What that will do is when you're in a prospect's message and you click the flag by their name, when you go back to your message feed where you see all of your messages, you're going to see little flags wherever you have flagged it. And so you can instantly, oh, there's a sale going on. I'm going to go flip through all of my messages, and every person with a flag, I'm going to stop and I throw a message in there. Hey, we've got a sale going on. You said if you wanted me to get back with you whenever there's a sale, now's your time. Are you ready? And it just helps you be able to immediately see who you're talking to. And once people sign up with me, I unflag them, and so that they're not in my prospect list anymore. But that's a way for you just to go to your message app and quickly scroll through, and boom, boom, boom. You can stop, send a message, send a message, send a message. You can shoot out 50 messages in like lickety split by having the flags. So that's something that I never knew that I learned a couple years ago. That's really been helpful. The other thing is my favorite, and it is organizing by albums. When you go on a Facebook or an Instagram page, there is the like and there is the comment area over here. But on the right side, there's the little box where you can save it, and it says save. Click save, and a little pop-up will come up and say, do you want to save to an album? And if you've never done this, you're not going to know what that means. But if you say yes and you click that, it's going to have you create a new album. And the albums are going to kind of look like a board on Pinterest. They're just going to be a bunch of albums that you have. You can go to your albums in your setting and you can see. So I have albums for prospects. I have an album for follow up with the sale. I have an album for like my top 10 people I'm trying to get to like follow me back, my like dream teamer album. I have, so instead of following tons of influencers to keep my follow up down, I just save and I'll have like an influencer album. So I can go back later if I want to see their cute stuff. Maybe food inspo. So I try to keep people, instead of following everyone, I save their one post of theirs to an album. And then later, if I want to go find a sourdough recipe, I'll go to my little food recipe box and I'll find those people and their recipes. So then I'm not following 3,000 accounts. I'm just following the people that I want in my feed. Because otherwise, if you're following all the influencers who are like us that post several times a day, that's at the top of your feed daily, not your people you're looking for. So get rid of your accounts. Like last week, I unfollowed, I think 800 people, and I just sorted them all into boxes and like unfollowed them because anyone over 100,000 followers I deleted, like I got rid of, because they're not who I'm really looking for. They have their own biz going. But just making yourself really organized in your albums. So anytime there's a deal or anytime you're doing a big reach out, go to your settings, go to albums, and all of your albums will show up. And once you're in the album, it's going to be a picture from every person that you've saved into your album. Click on it. It goes right to their page. Go follow some of their posts. You like their stuff. It like be networking in that prospect album. And that way you are constantly like reaching out to the people that you want to see your posts. And eventually those people are going to sign up. And once they do, remove them out, like unsave their posts, it removes them out of your album. And you can move them up to like, check in on or whatever. But those are kind of two things that a lot of people don't like know about Instagram, I think. And something I didn't know about it was the flagging and the album making. And those are two things that have been really helpful, just being organized, because when you have, if you follow 1,000 people, it's hard to follow that one girl. Where did she go? Who was it that I was in a message with? Because you've done 50 messages. It's really hard to find quickly. So anyway, hopefully, I know I talked super fast, but I wanted to keep down to the time limit. I have, like I said, a video that shows you exactly how to flag and shows you exactly how to save to albums. And I'll send that to Randy. It's a little YouTube video I made, and it's still accurate, even though it's like 2 years old. So if you didn't quite get what I'm talking about, that video will help you there. And it'll show you exactly what I mean, because I do it on like Instagram to show you how to do it. So hopefully that was helpful. Those are kind of my tips. That's what I do. Just be in your stories, post at least once a day. That's kind of what I do. I try to post at least a post every day. And just when people do watch, one last thing, when people watch my stories and my Plexus, say I have a Plexus testimonial, if I'm ready to go do a big reach out, I'll go to whoever has watched that last slide of the Plexus story, maybe where I've done the poll, maybe no one voted on my poll. That happens. Well, I go to see who watched it, and I go through every single name and I shoot them a DM. Thank you so much for watching my stories today. It really means a lot. Have you heard of Plexus? Like I message them that same message. I don't get the hey girl. It's not like spammy. I saw them watch it. I know they did. So they can't like deny, oh, I'm not watching that. Like I know they did. And that it's fresh in their mind. They've had to watch it in the last 24 hours. And as soon as I reach out, they can say, yes, I've heard of it. So then I can start the conversation. Or sometimes I'll just say, have you tried Plexus yet for yourself? As in you're going to try it. Have you tried it yet? Just assuming they're going to try it at some point. So that's kind of what I do. And I can, like I said, whip out a bunch of messages. I flag every single one. And then I know later on, I can go back and find those messages in my feed really easily later. But yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Was there someone talking? Is it me that's slow? Oh no.
It's good on my end, Randy.
Okay, that was really weird. It does say my internet's unstable though right now, so.
Hi, I had a question. I put it in the chat, but I don't know. When somebody starts to follow you, and you said that you send them a DM introducing yourself, what does that typically look like? Like, how is that worded?
Well, so I'm not the kind of person that if I get a reel out there and I get 20 new people, I don't let them all follow me. If they're creepers or they're like, obviously they're following 9,000 people and they have like one post, I delete them. I just block or I delete. I don't keep everyone. Numbers is not always a better thing. And so if it looks like a normal person that follows me, I will reach out to them. I will look at their page first. If it looks like another mom, if she's already doing a biz and talking about Beachbody or talking about Monade or something like that, maybe I won't reach out. But if it looks like someone who's just, got kids and they seem like a nice account and that just started following me, I will absolutely be like, oh my goodness, your kids look like the same age as mine. Tell me, where are you guys from? I'm Kate. Thanks for the follow. And a lot of times I'll follow back as well. And then, try to see if she'll get back in my DMs that way. And if you've commented in a DM and they haven't seen it, a lot of times you can get them to see it by going to their stories if they post stories and commenting in there, because the stories will give them a notification. Whereas a DM, if you're not their friend, won't give them necessarily give them a notification that there's a message, but the stories put them into the message and then they can see that you've written prior to that. So I usually message and then I go to their stories. Or I'll message them on stories and be like, hey, I shot you a DM. And then they can go and look at that way.
How do you make your account a business account instead of personal?
You just go to your settings and it has an option to have I think there might even be 3, but there's business account, personal account. There might even be influencer account. I don't remember, but business account I have mine on, or influencer. I don't know that it really matters between business and influencer.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know?
I don't think it matters. I think a lot of us are creators.
Yeah, creators. Creator is the new verbiage. Yeah, I think it's the same. Basically, it just allows you to see your insights and that sort of thing.
Okay, thank you.
Also, if you use a hashtag and you're not an open page, it doesn't work. Your stuff won't go out in that into the great beyond. It just stays in your feed. You have to have an open account for those hashtags to connect.
Anyone else have questions? This has been great. I love your tip on the albums. Because that is one part that I feel like I get overwhelmed on Instagram. I'll find some great accounts and then I'm like, gosh, I cannot find that account. I can't remember the name of it, or because we have it's kind of like my husband is a fighter pilot and all of the fighter pilots have call signs and you have to their first name, their call sign, and their last name, and you're like, and then their wife on top of it, and you're like, I have no idea who it is. So it kind of reminds me of that.
Well, you're not memorizing people's names anymore. It's just their accounts. And then you're like, was it so-and-so in some sort of forest or mountain, or what was their handle? You have to memorize their handle and try to remember, so it is tricky.
Absolutely. All right. You guys, any more questions before we let Katie go? All right. Well, thank you again for joining us this evening and sharing your awesome tips. And yeah, I'm excited to watch your video as well. I think it would be good. There's a lot of people that are, they are pretty new to Instagram. And I think that would be really, really good to watch and to see how how you do all those. And the one thing that I took away from Katie that I really loved when I was on the plane with her, she was sharing with me, was the fact that and this is what I just want to remind all of you guys, that she doesn't sit there and waste time building a relationship on there. She goes straight to them and asks them that question. And that was the one thing that surprised me, because I was like, maybe that's what I'm not doing right. I'm sitting here trying to build these relationships forever. And I do feel like that's extremely important on Facebook. So I think there's a little bit difference there with Instagram and Facebook, maybe. But I love hearing that really worked for her.
one thing I've noticed if I take too much time is that when I finally do get around, they're like, oh, I signed up last week with my neighbor. I signed up last week with someone else. And it might be the person on my team. And I'm like, oh my word. Like it's okay if they're on my team, whatever. But like, if I had said something, they were obviously interested. And a lot of people don't reach out first. They don't, even if they are interested. I don't know why. Like I reached out, but Joanna had reached out to me multiple times before I ever reached out. But when I was finally ready, I did reach out. But most people just don't. They sit there and I'm like, come on, like, you need it. Like, but they want to be asked. Like maybe they're shy, they're intimidated, or they think we don't have time to really talk to them. And so by them being in your stories means they are interested in what you're doing. And so when you do post something about Plexus and then go to that last slide, go to all the people who've seen it and just message them, hey, thank you so much. Thank them first. Thank you so much for spending the time in my stories. It means a lot to me. Have you tried Plexus yet?
Yeah.
Even if they say yes, though, don't stop there. Oh, I'm glad. Say, oh, tell me what your favorite product is. Oh, I tried it 3 years ago with my friend. I don't actually use it anymore. Like dig deeper, because if they're not using it anymore, they tried it once. We have a lot of new products. We have a lot of new flavors. And if they're not currently doing it, and they're just saying, yeah, I tried it to like blow you off, dig a little deeper. Don't stop with, oh, okay, well, they probably already used the products then. No, assume that they are open to you signing them up and go all the way to at least asking the questions that will make oh, they're already a happy customer. I'm super happy for you. Or, oh, you haven't been in for 3 years. So I want to tell you what's new. What are your health goals? Just jump in, be bold. And when you are confident and bold in sharing and like reaching out, people can feel it, especially if you're being genuine. If you're not being all spammy and salesy, like people can feel that too. But I think if people are already stories, they're already interested in you. So take that as a little like nudge to go reach out.
I think that's a great tip. And I will add to that, Brandy Walker, who I think she just asked a question, but she's my upline. And I was that secret person just secretly searching, Googling Plexus, what is this stuff? Like not reach out to her right away. I was just sitting there, and eventually I had to, because I couldn't get all the answers I needed to. But I probably took maybe 6 weeks before I reached out to her. And I was just sitting there silently watching her, not liking any of her things. So it's always a great reminder to hear, like, there's so many of us that are doing that.
Yep. My brother watched for 3 years and I had determined not to bug family ever. Took him 3 years and finally, never liked to post, never comment on it. And finally he's like, okay, sign me up. And I was like, wait, what? We've never even talked about this. So like, just take it that people are watching, even if you never see the likes and you never see the comments. Like I said, those are kind of dead right now anyways on Instagram. So just get the messages, because relationships are what people want. We don't have enough people connection. 2020, like relationships have really changed. And people are on Instagram buying stuff all day long. So they're buying from Amazon, they're buying from wherever, like they might as well be buying from you, and you have something really special to give them.
Love that.
Katie, sorry, I have another question. So when you are saying that you will boldly message them about Plexus once you've seen that they've looked at your stories and they've looked at a specific thing about Plexus in your story, or when do you know to like pull the trigger there?
So you know how like I'm hoping if you're on Instagram, if you post stories, make sure you're looking in your people viewers every day. Like you can see on your bottom left corner who's watching. So you've got 100 people watching. So look through that list. Of course, 25% is probably going to be Plexus. The other 25% could be the people already on your team, but still 50% of those people you've not signed up yet, and they're not doing Plexus. So if you see somebody's like constantly watching your stories day after day, there's going to be those faithful people who just like you and want to follow you. Like those are the people that are probably going to be the most ready. But even if I've never had a conversation, I don't care if if I see them in my stories, I thank them for watching, and I just go down the list. Like sometimes I'll screenshot because the list does disappear in 24 hours. So when your story appears, the list of viewers disappears. So I'll go through and I'll click the viewers and it pops it up, and I'll screenshot, and then I'll go through and like cross out, or I'll circle like names, and I'll probably have 15, 20 new people. And I'll be like, okay, I'm going to message. And I don't do all of them at once, because sometimes you can like lock yourself down. But I try to shoot out at least 10 to 15 messages when I'm doing that kind of thing. But then also going in the message when I'm sending it and flagging it so I don't miss the people later. And then going to their pages.
What does that look like? Like what you say? Like you thank them for watching, but what is the flow of that?
Honestly, very, very short, because I've learned the more I say, the more scary I guess I am. So I just say, thank you so much for being in my stories. I love that you're, hanging out with me here. I mean, it means a lot. Have you tried Plexus before? Like literally that's all I say, 2 lines, boom, boom. Like if I've had a relationship and conversation before and they didn't respond and it's been like a year, I'll be like, hey, it's been a really long time. I know we've chatted Plexus before, but have you ever decided to give it a try with anyone else, or are you curious? I know I'm still talking about it and you're still watching. Like I just say it. I just like mention it. If I have messaged them like 5 times in a row over the last few months and they haven't responded, I unsend all of those messages. I know on Instagram you can and they don't know it. I unsend them all. And I'm like, hey, it's been a long time since we've talked. It could be 2 months. If the message is gone, they're not going to remember. So I do that. I unsend messages if I've like talked to them like 5 times in a row to make it look like I'm not puking on them with Plexus. So I do lots of things like that, but I'm just really bold because I'm just like, when I have waited around, I lose people. Like they sign up with some other company and they kill it. And I'm mad because they didn't sign up with me and I didn't ask. And you have not because you asked not. So I've just kind of over the years gotten much. I didn't used to be this bold, but you know what? We wait around, we wait for the perfect time, and then we miss the opportunity. And, a lot of us could be a different rank if we had reached out to that one person that like we missed the boat on. So I just try to like make sure everyone's been asked at least once, and then it's up to them and I'll come back later. But that's just kind of how I do. I just go down the list, click and see in their messages what we've said before. If we've never said anything, I say, hey, I'm Kate. Thanks so much for hanging out my stories. It means a lot. Are you familiar with Plexus? Have you tried Plexus yet? I try to make it a question always. Kimberly.
Thank you. That was wildly helpful. Thank
Welcome.
you.
Thank you so much for that, Katie. One thing that I did find recently that I didn't even know was an option is once you have a story up, and correct me if this isn't right, but if you go to like your menu bar and you go to your archive, you have an option to view archives for your posts and then for your stories. And if you're looking at your archive stories, I believe you should be able to see past views. So like if you did a poll on something and you forgot to see like who swiped on it, I think you're able to go back and see like who swiped or who viewed it. So if you weren't able to, check your views, say you did like 3 stories about Plexus related, and then you wanted to see like the last ones on there, are you still able to see the views? I think so, but maybe I'm wrong.
When I first started Instagram, you could always see forever in archives all the people who've seen it. And then all of a sudden it was gone. I was like, oh, they hate us for MLMing. Like they do everything to make it hard. So then they all disappeared. I do, unless something's changed in the recent meta update. I have not looked recently, but it used to be when you went back to the archives, you could definitely see the stories. And I think you could still see the polls because they were actions that were taken on it. But I think you might even be able to see like there was 300 or 800 viewers, but I don't think you can see who the viewers were anymore. That could have changed because that's how it used to be. I should check up on that and see how it is in my old stories. But I'm pretty sure, yes, you can see the old polls and the people who voted. I do try to always screenshot real quick before the 24 hours is up in case I can't reach back out right away. I at least have the list of people who did vote. But I'm not sure now currently because Meta just was like this big change. And so maybe that would be awesome because then you can go back to your old stories and see all the people. But for now, pretend that you can't and do it in 24 hours. At least do screenshots. So if you do forget to look later, at least you have the screenshots and you can go check through later and see who the people were.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, we appreciate your time, and yeah, I guess I'll look forward to getting that YouTube video from you. And if anybody else has questions, I'll ask.
Okay. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Katie.
You're welcome. Have a good evening, everyone.
Bye.